So we started the recording. So today we're going to go over some TDD. Specifically, we're kind of focus on Jest since we didn't really cover it yesterday. And then we're going to do a couple, maybe a few challenges, review some of the challenges in JavaScript. So what is TDD? Someone?
It's a way to test your code dynamically so that you could make sure that the code runs if given different variables.
It's like unit testing.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
I would have a slightly different take on that. I think it's a way to develop your program in a way that involves writing tests first.
Yep. Yeah. So test-driven development. That's absolutely right. It's you write your tests first. To meet the requirements of the application, and then you actually write your application or write the code, write the functions, write the entire application. So yesterday we covered unit test. It's a built-in Python library called unit test. It's pretty kind of self-explanatory. You're writing unit test. Unit test is a built-in Python testing library or testing framework, testing library. Now, when you encounter JavaScript, we come down here. There's this testing for library called Jest. So Python has a bunch of built-in libraries where you can just like import unit test. JavaScript really doesn't. That can't just like, well, I guess I can't off the top of my head. Like doesn't have any built-in testing frameworks or testing libraries. So there's a bunch of different testing libraries and frameworks in JavaScript, specifically Node, in Node or JavaScript. One of them, and one of the more popular ones, is Jest. There's also Mocha, there's Chai, so kind of it's like drinks, Mocha. Chai is one of them. I'm more familiar with Mocha. That's the one I'm more familiar with. There's Jasmine. Then you get into library, front-end library testing frameworks like Enzyme, which is how to test React code, which was developed by Airbnb and stuff like that. So let's just get started with Jest. Like I don't know what Jest is. I've never used it before. Let's go into it. So as a new engineer, so one thing about software development, especially like software engineering, a lot of people think it's all hands down coding, hands on the keyboard, writing functions and everything. But 80% of the time, you're going to be reading. You're going to be researching. 80% reading, researching, like 20% actually coding. So it's like how to solve the problem. It's like researching the solution, how to actively work with a framework, understanding the different technologies you're using, and then going in and implementing it via code. So let's get started with Jest. I'm going to open up, zoom in. Oh, that's weird. I'm going to bring this up to the top. Why did it not show up? Things are acting weird. There we go. You want to hit the lights, the bottom one on the right. Great. So I'm going to CD, I'm going to make a directory. I'm going to CD into my desktop. I'm going to make a directory called Kilo Testing. CD into Kilo Testing. I'm going to open this directory in my current Windows. If everyone can shut their laptops, or at least not be typing on their laptops while I am instructing, or at least not loudly. Thank you. If you're taking notes, yeah, you don't really need to take notes up here. So great. Kilo testing. So I'm going to come back to Jest. I'm going to create a, where is it? So we have getting started with Jest. We have installed Jest using Yarn. We don't really, I don't know what Yarn is. We don't use Yarn, but we we spit here, or node, we're going to use npm install this command. npm, not sure what npm is. What is npm? It's a node package manager. What is node? Okay, like, all right. So node is essentially how to run JavaScript on your local machine. Use it as a server, essentially how to write JavaScript and run it on your local machine. Because JavaScript is a web language, and Node allows you to run JavaScript outside of the browser. Developed by Google, it's a JavaScript runtime and created on Chrome's V8 engine, blah, 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 cool stuff. It's like in late 2008 or 2009. Node, or NPM, is a node package manager. And our package is Jest. What are packages or libraries and stuff like that? Where's NPM? So NPM is the node package manager. And NPM is essentially how to install all the different open source libraries and frameworks that were created for Node or for JavaScript. Is there an npm.com? I'm not even sure. Nope, that's NASDAQ. Where's the website for npm? There we go. So this is like the repository or the registry of where all the npm packages or all the JavaScript packages reside. It's kind of like the single source of, so it's a registry, it's like an encyclopedia of where we can find it. So if I just type in Jest, delightful JavaScript testing, that's kind of cool. So it kind of gives you all the information on Jest, where it was created, how many weekly downloads. That's how you know a library is good and you probably safe to use it. That 4.7 million downloads this past week. And it gives you where like Jest homepage, the actual GitHub library. It's an open source testing framework. Can someone explain to me what open source is? Anyone can see and audit and write the code. Yeah, awesome, great. Versus like, so Jest is open source, React is open source, which is a library. React was created by Facebook. Jest looks like it's and was created by Facebook as well. Great. Closed source is like Microsoft Word, Excel. You can't dive into the source code and change it and use it for your own, manipulate it to fit your needs specifically. Where these open source frameworks, you can. So I'm just going to npm install dev jest. Let's see what happens. So I'm in my Kilo testing directory. Now, npm node package manager install -- save -dev and then jest. Yes.
Sorry, Tom. Would the Kilo testing directory be? Do you install this in the directory of your JS files or one up in the project folder?
It's going to be in the actual project where your files are located at currently.
Same level of your JS.
Yeah, you're currently, but you'll see. So what happened here? We see these two, we have node modules and this package.json or package.lock.json. Node modules is everything that needs to run Jest is in here. All this stuff is what needs to run Jest. So some developers, a group of engineers came together and said like, hey, we need a testing framework. We feel that we know the best way to create a testing framework. Let's call it Jest. And here's everything that these developers created, so we don't have to. Kind of nice. This JSON lock file is essentially all the requirements within Node, all like the dependencies and that are required to run Jest. What is happening?
What would happen if you installed that at the root level?
I think you might just at the root level of your computer.
Yeah, like would it work for everything then, or would you still have to download it?
You would have to, well, when at your root level, but then then in your root level, you'll have multiple applications that would require additional, would have their own package.lock, JSON lock files or JSON files. And there would be discrepancies when you try to run your code of like which package.json, which we'll get to look at. So there'll be like a conflicting, you'll essentially kind of get like an error as to like what should this application look at from like a configuration perspective.
So it gets messy quickly.
There was when I scrolled down on that page, I saw there was a global it was part of the list.
Yep. So I think
What does
that's
that do?
where all the way down here.
Yeah,
We'll get to that. You'll rarely install things globally, but we will get to that in the future. I'm going to restart VS Code. All right. So I restarted VS Code. There's some funky was happening. When in doubt, restart it, or just tap your laptop, just shake it. I'm just, so I'm back here. What is going on? Okay, yeah, something funky's happened. All right, so Jest documentation uses yarn commands, blah, 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 blah. Let's get started by writing a test for a hypothetical function that adds two numbers. First, create a sum.js file. So first time using Jest, I'm not quite sure how it works. So what is happening? I'm going to open my laptop. I am going to pause the record. Can you pause the recording? I'm pausing the recording right now. I resumed the recording, just hopefully, I don't know what's going on, big stuff. Let's go back to, so let's get started by writing, create a sum.js file. So come here, touch sum.js. Here's my sum.js file. I'm going to double click on it to open up in the current window. And then I'm just going to copy this code right here. So this code creates a function called sum. It takes in two arguments, a, b, and returns a plus b. Pretty easy. Then we're going to export this function to be accessible in other files within my application. So module.export equals sum. There's other ways to do it, but this is the easiest way to export functions and stuff like that. And it says then create a file named sum.test.js. This contains our actual test. All right. So I'm coming back here. I'm going to create a touch.sum.test.js. All right, here. I'm going to open up that. I'm going to split the windows just to have them both open. Here we go. So I've got my sum.js file, and I got my testing file on the right. Now I'm going to copy this code. So requires sum. So from this file, sum, assign it to the variable sum, and then it looks like test. So it takes in two arguments, adds 1 plus 2 to equal 3, and then it runs this arrow function. Expect, I haven't seen that method, that keyword before. Expect sum 1, 2 to be 3. I don't know what this 2b is. I don't know. We'll find out. Add the following section to your package.json file. All right, let's see where my package.json file is. All right, I don't have a package.json file. I've got this package lock file. Not sure what's going on. Let's see how to create a package.json file in npm. creating a package.json file. You can add a package.json file to your package to make it easier for others to manage to install packages published to this registry. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Example, creating a new package.json file. All right. So I'm going to navigate to the root directory of your package. I'm already here. This is where I want to be. It said, run the following command, npm init. So do you know how when we were initializing Git, it would be git init? We haven't done that since we've done it a couple of times, but when you initialize a new Git file, you do git init. Now we're going to do npm init. Let's see what happens. This utility will walk you through creating a package.json file. It only covers the most common items and tries to guess sensible defaults. See npm help, blah, blah, blah. Great. So right here it says use npm install afterwards to install a package and save it as a dependency in the package.json file. All right, we might come with that. I'm going to bring this up. So press C, package.name, kilo testing. So that's the name of my actual directory. And you can pretty much just click enter a bunch of times to have it default to everything. Version 1.0, description, whatever, entry point, sum.js, test command, git repository, nothing's connected, any keywords, author, whatever. Great, cool. Then it says, what is it? You're about to write a package to this directory, a package.json file. And this is what it's going to look like. So is this okay? If I just click enter, or this is what it should. You just click enter, it defaults to yes. So my package.json file shows up here. I'm going to open it up. So this is my package.json file. It's essentially just JSON is a configuration kind of file. It stands for JavaScript object notation. It's essentially just a bunch of metadata about your application. You see, we've got dependencies. Right here, we have Jest. Dev dependencies. These are specifically for developers. So when you install, if you're a developer, these will be installed. We have scripts that we can run that we can actually execute, and other things in it. So it says, add the following to your package.json file. Okay, it says under scripts, add this test.js. So here are my scripts. I'm going to add the test.js. So I'm just going to replace that. I need a comma there. I'm going to save it. So I added the script test.js. What is going on? Not too fair. So finally, run yarn test or npm run test, and Jest will print this message. Pass, some test, adds whatever. Adds 1 + 2 to equal 3, 5 milliseconds. So I'm going to clear my terminal, bring it to the top. So if everything was installed correctly, I can run this npm run test. Everything should run. Runs. Great. Any questions about npm or Jest? Anything like that? All right. Let's clear that. I'm going to cd out one level to my desktop. And let's jump into a couple of challenges. Let's first start with anagrams. How do I get anagrams, this Git repository, onto my local machine? First, I need to fork it to my GitHub. So scanning over, it's copying it over. Next, now what?
Clone or download.
Clone or download. click this little button here to copy it. So I'm going to make another directory called kilo challenges, cd kilo challenges. I'm going to git clone. This is where I want to just store this anagrams challenge. Now I'm going to code. I'm going to open this into the current window, VS Code window. All right, here's my anagrams. Got JS, so let's do it in JS. I don't like that, how it's like that. I'm going to rename this file because it shouldn't be snake case. Thank you. So, test-driven development. I want to install Jest. What
Should we install this each time?
So I want to create, first I'm going to npm init. I want to just initialize this application with npm init. Am I doing this right so far? Perfect. So cd into my JS folder because that's where I want to be. So I was initially within here, within the anagrams, but I want to be in my JS file, folder. npm init. Just yes, 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 yes. Enter, enter, enter. Is this okay? Yes. Here we got a package.json file. Clear. Let's open this package.json file. Cool character match, JS, script, blah, blah. Now, how do I install Jest in this JS file or this JS application? Probably in here too. Can I delete it? Top right, this one? To the right. Awesome. Yes. So cool. So yeah, in the npm registry, we've got the how to install it. We click that. But I want to save it as a dev dependency. So npm is just this, and then -d, capital D. There's multiple ways. So instead of writing like -dev, you can do -d or -s to save. So capital D. npm I stands for install, Jest -d as a dev. I'm going to install it as a dev dependency. So it's going up, it's grabbing all the different packages that are required to run Jest. It's going to take a little while. And then over here, you're going to see the node modules. And I know someone talked about a git ignore file. I think Robert brought that up. We'll go into that when we actually push this to GitHub, because we don't want to push that massive directory. We don't want to push all these folders and everything up to GitHub because it takes a long time. So enabled. Don't show me that again. So we have our package. So did you see in our package.json file, we got dev dependency Jest installed. So now I want to install.
How do you check the JSON file again?
How do you check it?
Yeah.
You just open it up.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now I want to install this script test under scripts. You can also just change. So now here is my spec file. all the spec files, we've just been giving you some like run driver, runner. They're not really unit tests. They're just like, it's like a runner file, just true or false, whatever. So in test-driven development, we want to convert this, all of this, to Jest unit tests. Where's character match? So this is one way to export it. I'm not a huge fan of that, just the way, because it says Anna, and then you have to do Anna.characters match. I'm going to go with this convention where it's module.export, so you just export it at the very end of the file. So I'm going to make this const is character match equals, I'm going to create this into a fat arrow function. And then at the very bottom, I'm going to exports dot, what was it? Module.exports. Module.exports equals is character match. Up here, I want to require, I'm going to name it, this is characters match. That kind of follows the convention of the documentation.
So, Tom,
Yes.
I just had a quick question. Let's say your file has multiple functions. Do you have to do the module.export for each of the functions?
There is a way to export multiple functions. I think you can do that and just like comma separated, like another function, or that might work, or do it as a object, right? Does anybody have experience with this? Something like that. Oh, this is what the way to do it? But otherwise, it would just be comma separated and underscore.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, if I wanted to change the name of my function, I can call it something else. If I want to actually change my function name, otherwise it would be the comma separated like that. Otherwise, this will work. So is character match, and we want to write spec tests or unit tests for each and one of these test cases. So I'm just going to copy this over to use it as a reference. So test. I'm going to comment that out, drop it down, open it up. I don't need this anymore. So tests. What should it equal? Input charm and march to equal true. And then expect is character match. Charm. I'm just going to do one at a time. And march to be true? I don't know. I don't even know what this 2B is actually. Let's check that out. 2B says, you successfully wrote your first test using Jest. This test used expect and 2B to test that two values are exactly identical. To learn more about the other things that Jest can test, use matchers. I'm going to open that up. So common matchers to be to equal. Oh, look at it. To be null, to be undefined, to be defined, to be truthy. Or we can do it to be greater than, to be. So these are all things, these are all built-in methods that you can use when running tests. Not to match, not to match. Cool. To contain, so shopping list, to contain beer, always a good one. To throw errors. So if you want to like ensure that a certain input might throw a specific error to throw, and the return should be like error. And there's a bunch of them. So. Any questions? What questions do you have up to this point?
Yeah, I was following along with you. When I type test into the main file of the program, then it's giving me like test runner, test scheduler, you have auto, whatever. When I run it into the spec file, it doesn't know it's tested on. It's trying to text something.
So are you running like this spec file? Look up here?
Yeah, well, I thought you said that you were going to start with Anagram, so that was one.
Well, yeah, we'll get to it. But yeah,
I didn't know if it was an install thing.
not sure. So do we want this to be true? Well, let's run it. So I'm going to run this. Hopefully we get something. So ls character match.spec. Check it out. Probably might get an error. npm run test. So I'm running the script test because these are the scripts in the package.json file. And when I run the test, it's going to run Jest. It's going to actually run that. In the future, you should see a bunch of other ones, a bunch of other scripts. But run test, Jest. Oh, we got a bunch of errors. I don't even know what's going on. Let's check it out. npm run test, Anagrams.js. No test found, exiting code with code 1. Yes. Okay, so I'm at 4 files checked. Test match. Looks like this is some regex stuff. Regex is just, I don't understand it ever. So I'm going to look and see if our test file matches what should be. So I'm just going to go back to the documentation. It says, oh, the test file should be .test.js. So it's probably that regex is probably looking for something that says test in it or something. So I'm going to rename this to .test and just remove this spec. That's kind of what. See, test regex. So it says test regex, and it says 0 matches. Pattern 0 matches. So I'm going to clear that. Let's run it again. npm run test. Just run. Okay, we got a test. Okay, cool. All right, can't find module character match from character match. Oh, okay. Another error. I changed my character match.js file to be the camel case, but when I import it into my testing file, it's snake case. So I'm going to change that character match. Is that right? No, I spelled it wrong. Good. So let's try this again. It's running it. Test. Oh no.
Does it
Okay.
matter that the C isn't capitalized?
What?
No,
That's fine. So cool. Here's our test. It says failed. Character match input charm and march to equal true. Input charm and march to equal true. Expected true. Received undefined. This is where the test failed. It failed at 2B, like right here. Great. Cool. So let's just return true. And let's run this again. I just want to try to get the first one to pass, just by default. Can you go pass? I don't know. Oh, cool. Awesome. Great. But obviously that's not the solution. So let's start running. Let's actually start doing anagram. I'm going to look at the README because I don't really know what an anagram is. All right, your program should return true for the following example. So for this challenge, you will make a program that takes in 2 different strings and see if the individual letter or number characters in a string match in both strings. For example, A, B, C, D, E, 2 can be arranged to C, D, or C2, A, B, E. Right. So what should we do first? Let's see. What's the first thing we should check?
It's a string of one.
Check if they're both a string.
Same way.
Oh, I think I like the same length. But, I mean, we'd have to test both of them anyway. So,
Unless we are actually not looking at spaces, right? It's a white space. Like the challenge had 2 spaces. So like,
oh, so if there's like a sentence,
like a sentence with spaces, and though it's still kind of an anagram.
yeah.
So,
Just to clarify, does it ignore the capitalization of the letter?
That's like,
They
that's
ignore
another.
that too as well, yeah.
So it looks like they ignore that. So let's just try to get these to pass. And then,
so same way.
but those are like the questions you should be asking of your product team and your designer and stuff like that. Is like, hey, can it accept this? These are just like questions, good questions. Let's actually first test if, let's test both Stevens and Beck's. Because when we want to fail fast. So if string 1 or, wait, is it type of? What do I type? Type of string 1 equals number? Is that what it is, or is it lowercase?
I would say
Not equal to string, or actual string, sorry. Oh, I'm getting in my head myself. All right. We want to create a function. It happens all the time. That takes in 2 arguments. Let's just not even test. Let's not have a hard requirement that they have to be strings right now. Let's just, because we want to test for that. For 2 arguments, check if both arguments are a string. What if they're not a string?
You can just convert it to a string if you want to. Yeah, if you want to test numbers,
Right.
say, you can just convert them over to a string.
I'm going to just return false because I don't want to assume anything. Like, I don't want to. You don't want to just assume something because it might actually be like, oh no, the requirements. That's part of the requirements, or that's not part of the requirements. So you might be doing extra work when you don't have to. Do check. So first step, check if both arguments are a string. If not, return not a string, return false. Check if both arguments are the same. If not, why do I want to check if they're not the same length? So yeah, if they're not the same length, it'd be guaranteed that they won't be anagram. How are we doing on time? As far as, all right. So the way I'm thinking of how to do this, I always default to use a dictionary. Just when in doubt, what kind of data structure should I use? I'm just going to default to dictionary first and see if I can solve it using dictionary. And if not, then like move on to an array and string or whatever. That's like one of the I don't know, pro tip, but John might say like during your interviews, So like, hey, if they ask you what type of data structure, say a hash or a dictionary or an object. Just say that, because it more than likely can be solved utilizing that. So what I'm thinking of is creating a dictionary or an object and looping through the first string or the first argument and assigning each individual character as a key and the number of times that that character occurs as like the number, as the value. And then looping through the second one, the second string, and subtracting from the original object. And then looping through the object, and if any key value is not a 0, then it would return false. If they're all 0, it would return true. Does that make sense? What is, okay, I'm not, that's
It also be
correct. So if it's not a 0, so if it's a -1, then it'd still return false. So create variable of empty object, then loop through first string and assign key. Trying to like say this. Assign
Letter as key.
There we go. Letter as key. And assign, it's kind of long. And assign, I guess I'll just do it up here. The number of occurrences cool. And essentially do this again, but subtract. Do second. And assign each letter as a key and assign the number. Let's say add increments. We want to try to do this so like anybody can understand it, like Big Bird to Cookie Monster, or break it down Barney style type of thing. And increment the number of occurrences as value. Oh, this wants to be decrement. Increment the number of occurrences. What's next? Then I want to loop through the object, the keys, values of the object, and check to and test, right? And check if any values does not equal 0. If the value doesn't equal 0, return false. Else return true. Does that make sense? Hopefully I think that's works.
You have to think about case at this point.
Yes, we do.
I just push everything to lowercase in the string.
Okay, where do we want to do that at? We'll do it after same length. And so after here, we can convert both strings to both to uppercase. That works. So let's actually try to implement this. So, 125. All right. Let's come back at 10:35, and then we'll actually code out the actual function and then run some tests. All right, started recording. We're gonna go ahead and get started again. So we wrote all our pseudocode. Now we're gonna convert our pseudocode into actual code. So check if both arguments are strings. So I did this, a first if statement. If type of string 1 does not equal string, or type of string 2 does not equal string, return false. We just want to fail right away. This is like an edge case if somehow the user or whatever the application is running and somehow there's a string or anything other than a string that gets input in there, we can know right away and it'll automatically fail. You can also test the length. So check if both arguments are the same length. So if string 1.length does not equal string 2.length, what do we want?
Return false.
Return false. So an anagram, if they're not the same length, it's automatically not an anagram. I spelled length wrong. All right. Now we want to convert both arguments to uppercase. All right, so I'm going to just declare new variables. Let upper 1 or string 1 equals string 1 dot, what's the build? Is it 2 upper? Oh, there it goes. Do I have to invoke this? Okay. Let upper string 2 equals string 2 dot 2 uppercase, invoke it. You don't need to have these anymore. I'm just that person.
Why don't we need them anymore?
Because most languages don't have that, these semicolons at the end. So they didn't want, JavaScript didn't want JavaScript developers to like abide by some arbitrary syntax that no other software language or programming language has or doesn't have. So it's just
Deprecated out.
yeah, it's like deprecated out. But if you
Java
have,
still does that, right? Or does it not?
you don't need to have them anymore. It's optional now. Oh yeah, I think in the replit, if you well, it won't fail. Like your code won't fail. It'll just give you a little.
No, it does. It gives you a flag.
It just flags it, but it works. It works now.
Okay.
So convert both arguments to uppercase. If not, return false. All right, yep, messed that one up. Create a variable of empty object. So let character count equals empty object. So this is where we're going to store everything. Store the quantity of each character of all the strings. So for next, I want to loop through the first string and assign each letter as a key and increment the number of occurrences in it. So for not 4, but I equal 0, I is less than upper string 1 dot length, I plus plus. Now, how do I assign a key value to an object? So I want to add. Okay. What if that character? So I need to test something first. So my pseudocode wasn't that.
So we do a for Jest.
I-
We do a for each.
There's multiple ways we can do this. I'm just gonna do an if statement. If character count upper string 1 at I. So if that exists, I can
Character count dot.
character
I think
count.
it's put dot go to the them. Then you could.
So my thinking is if character count upper string 1 at I, so that should bring up like the first character or a character. If it exists, I actually want to increase +1 at the character count at I. And increment it. Just can I just do plus plus? Like that. Else I actually I actually want to assign it. So what is it? Character count at I equals 1. Hopefully it works. Does that logic make sense? So if it already exists in the object as a key, I want to increment it by 1. Else, so that means this is false, so it doesn't exist in the object yet, I'm going to add character count at I equals 1. So this is adding it to it. Next, you essentially want to do this exactly same thing.
Would you be able to console log the object so we can see how it looks before we do it?
We can. I'm trying not to do it. I kind of want to do it all the test driven. I just want to run the tests
Oh, okay.
to see.
Oh, we've been using console.log as our own tests.
Yep. So I'm changing the 4J, changing string 2. If the character count does exist at J, I want to decrement. Else, -1. It would just be, yes. Oh, thank you. Upper string 2. Where are we at? To 20 and 22? Oh, thank you.
Quick question. On
Yes.
line 20, if the character is not in the, if it is in the second one but not in the first one, then you just return false on line 20 since it already fails the test.
So if it's if it doesn't already exist in here,
That's correct. Then it's already failed. So you can just return false.
I think that logic makes sense. Yeah.
What's the difference between line 20 and 22?
20 and 22.
Are they not doing the same thing? I remember this.
So this is actually assigning J to the object. So right now,
Oh, yes.
Wouldn't J be assigning just the index and not the actual character?
yes. Thank you. So this whole thing needs to go in here. Good catch. Great. Hopefully that works. I mean, yes, that should work. But you never know until you run your code. Like, logically it makes sense. So loop through the keys value of the object and check. And check if any value does not equal 0. So what we're doing, we're looping through the first string. We're adding all the characters as keys. And in addition to, we're incrementing the values by 1, each like incrementing 1, 2, 3, how many times it occurs. In this for loop, we're doing the same thing, except we're decrementing, we're decreasing each key's values by 1. So we can have negative values if they don't show up in here. The reason why we're doing it this way, so we're not doing just return false, because, well, yeah, I don't know. Because these essentially run at, can possibly run at the same time.
They can.
Yeah. So the code, depending on how long the character, these are essentially asynchronously, so it's like it could possibly run at the same time. And now we want to loop through the object, loop through character and character count. How do I do this? How do I loop through an object?
You need to declare character.
What? Or is it for, oh.
But you're using it for it.
Yeah. Is that what I had?
I'm not seeing it with
These?
yeah.
In Python or even in JavaScript? So I want to check if character count.
Did you still use both parentheses in Python?
I am not sure. Does not equal 0. So if the character count, when I'm looping through, does not equal 0, I can return false. Else, return true. Let's see if this works. So I'm down here. I'm going to clear the test. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create all these test specs again. 2B, 2, 3. So that to be true. Zach and attack should be false. Charm, march to be true. ABC2. Shoot. There's a lot of places this gotta go. So I'm just changing. Charm, march. And the last one was ABC2.
should be false. It's not gonna change anything.
121 should be false. Right there.
To equal true, it says.
Oh, thank you. Yep. So let's just run this and see where we're found, because I'm sure there's going to be error somewhere. So npm run test. Oh, look at that. They're killing it. Awesome. Let's see these ones. This test is for the challenge question. Oh, so look here. Here's like here's a new one. So as Beck said before, what if you have an entire sentence? So if we wanted to, let's write this one. The last one. So we're gonna probably have to do some refactoring, just fine. New requirements come about occasionally. Oh, that's stupid.
here about the parent, not the spaces?
Well, we want to pass all of these. So in this one, we do want to know about the spaces. So we might have to manipulate our code. So we want that to be true. Oh, what am I doing? Let's run this, see where we can refactor some code. Running the test again. Oh. Anna, to be true, expected, received false. We passed the first 4 tests right here. The last one. So how can we refactor this code? So how do we get rid of the spaces on a string? Like a built-in method?
This.
Replace space between the quotes.
Yeah. I think Steven said it. Replace. Multiple people have it. So what is it? String to uppercase. The dot. I'm going to look at replace. How to replace elements in a string JavaScript. All right, there it is. JavaScript. So W3 Schools, I know John mentioned it earlier. It's a great resource. It's becoming a lot more popular. There's also MDN, which is like the official documentation for JavaScript. So visit string.replace. I'm gonna try this myself. What is this? Visit W3 Schools. So the element, cool. So it just takes in two arguments. One is what you actually want to replace, and the other one is what you want to replace it with. Great. So dot replace. So we want to replace spaces with no spaces. That makes sense? Hopefully that's all we actually have to do. That'd be nice. So I'm down here back in my terminal. I'm clearing it to bring it up to the top. Let's run that test. Oh no. That's the same one. Exactly. So what is happening here?
The string length test, the second if statement from the top.
Oh, look at that. Sweet. So our code is actually working. Let's comment this out so we can actually get to, or should we move? Oh, it's right here. It's right here, right?
Yeah, if you just move, if you either remove it or move it down below.
Let's see if that works. Well, it's still going to fail it, but. I'm just going to comment it out for the time being, just so we can get to this test. Come on. Oh, no. See if we can console log to see if we can actually, if these actually show up in the test spec. Upper, then 2. See if. Bro.
Because you need to use a regex statement to be able to go through each iteration.
Grab all of them. So how do I use regex? We're probably getting too into it now.
Use the forward slashes, forward slash, and then like slash wherever you want to do it. So
It's going to be so it's going to be /W or whole white space.
So /W, uppercase or lowercase?
Or, I think the first slash.
Like that?
Start right backwards slash. So one forward slash and one backwards. That's
Like that?
right.
no, it's forward slash, then backward slash.
Place, all white space. Stack Overflow. String replace, I don't like that. What is that? Like that. Is that it?
Yeah, forward slash, backward slash. G is global, I is case insensitive.
Yeah. That looks better. Run it. We're gonna get into regex either next week or in a couple weeks.
If you wanted to, you can actually replace the two buttons.
Look at that.
Place
There you go.
So do we know why it wasn't working how we had it before?
Was it
Quote space quote?
Quote, space, quote.
does
No.
JavaScript?
What
just-
we were using before, why wasn't that? Why didn't I like that?
I mean,
Did the first?
one instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, only one.
It replaced the very first one. So that was kind of a stretch goal. Oh no, it's fine.
So the forward slash, backward slash, say, yes, it's going to be line 7. Line 7, replace string.
If you change the string one dot length to upper string,
Thank you. Let's run that again. Clear down here in my terminal. It's loud, about just. There we go. Great. So now that I'm done with this, shouldn't have done it on master. Whoops. Get checkout B, just Tom's solution. LS. So get add, but hold on. I don't. What's up? Oh yeah, status. I think that's what I meant to do by LS. Status. Okay. So I deleted these, fine, because I renamed it. And then I've got these node modules and this package.json lock, or this package lock JSON file and this package JSON file. The only things I want to upload are the character match JS file, the package.json, and this file.
Oh, you can do git add and the main files.
Git add,
That's correct. Git
add,
You could do the first two, probably just like CHAR asterisk.
and you git match
Grab both of them.
like that. Let's see what that does. Git status. Wow. But I added those two. Now I can get add package.json, get status, clear, get status again. I want to add these two. But if I don't want to add, if I've got a lot with the,
How do we have to delete files to further tries that we deleted that? Right now, we since it still shows up.
I'm not sure yet. Git add remove. Use git add remove file so I can git remove. Let's see if I can do. See what happens.
I was running to that yesterday. Oh, okay.
So there we go.
If you
Git status.
if you added one file that you think you want to commit? How would you?
You can reset.
That would reset everything though. You couldn't just take that one back off.
So you can keep restore that line over there.
Yeah.
It says you can restore new file. So hard.
Just that file. Okay.
Character match.js because I want to remove that. Get status. There we go. I'm going to clear. I'm going to get status again. So yeah, I deleted these files, or I renamed them. Essentially deleted them. So I'm going to git commit. Yeah. Because it's just a file. It's not. We don't want to include node modules because it's a large file and it's going to literally take for a long time to upload, and your GitHub's going to be, when you keep on uploading this stuff, it's going to take up a lot of memory. Git add package dash lock, git status, I'm going to clear it, git commit. Did I already do this? Nope. Tom's solution. Git. So I'm going to git checkout master, because I just want to merge it into, I guess I can do git. Now I'm going to push it up to GitHub. Git push origin Tom's solution. Great. I'm going to come over to GitHub. Where's mine? Here it is. Branch, Tom solution, less than a minute ago. I can create a pull request, compare and make a pull request. But I don't want to go into kilo platoons yet. Can I do Tom's? Tom's anagram. So I'm going to merge it. So I'm merging it via GitHub, not on my local machine now. But I could do that. Not yet. But I just don't want to do it. I want to do it up here. So right up here, I'm creating a pull request to my master. I could go straight into kilo platoon, anagram, something like that. But I want the base branch to just be my master. Create pull request. And so since this is your GitHub, you're able to actually make this merge a pull request. Confirm merge. Now, when I'm in kilos, I create a new pull request. So I'm in, what is going on? Go back. Oh, merge pull request. Did I already do this?
Yeah.
So it says merged. I'm going to go kilo platoon. Branches? Oh, pull request. New pull request. I wonder if this is just. Oh, yep, you're right. So I'm going to actually go back to mine. Thank you. Create a new pull request. Here we go. Thank you. So I was under mine. Now I'm going to actually create a pull request from my master. You can also just create, instead of merging it, making a pull request on your own, you can also switch to like the Tom's branch, that other branch from here. You can select that. But since I already made a pull request in my GitHub repository from Tom's solution into my master, now I can just make a merge pull request from my master into Kilo Platoon's master. Create pull request, Tom's delete. Create pull request. And then, yeah, I'm not going to actually merge it. Any questions with regards to how that went?
So like, if the person is going to fork it, they still have to download the node modules again, right?
So the question was for like the
Like when
solution.
you do fork it and all.
So if there's already node modules, so the question was, if all this stuff is already up here, like the package.json, and you essentially fork a repository that has a package.json file, would you have to install node modules and everything again? The answer is yes, but there's an easy way to do it. When you fork and download a repository that has a package.json file on it, I'm gonna. So wait. What's that?
You want to delete one module?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. So I'm going to delete node modules. So I've got this package.json file in here. This is like the configuration of anything that this application needs to be installed. And it goes through and looks at all the dependencies. Right now, I've only got dev dependencies. I don't have other dependencies. So all I have to do is do npm install. And it's going to run through this package.json file and install. So hopefully everything works. So it's loading. It's looking at everything that's needed. Extracting. I see a bunch of Jest. Taking a while because it's installing everything. Come on. I wonder if it's because I had this open. Anyway,
It's actually just not refreshing enough. So it's VS Code stuff. PBLS.
oh, thank you. So I'm going to clear it. ls. Here's my node modules in this application, in my directory. It just doesn't show up here because VS Code is slow.
That's why we upload all the package.json.
Yeah. Don't upload the node modules. And there is a way to get around that. That's the git ignore file. So if you're interested in doing that, just type in like how to create a git ignore file and how to use that. But in the meantime, I'm going to stop the recording.